召大会。那么今天呢，主要是我们工党呢，不能从州从联办的话，我们必须要把大家再显示一下，我们确定在我们的整体的那个政纲里边，必须要保持我们的多元文化，保持我们不允许跟其他一些以种族歧视作为主要的他们的政党的一些的政党的那个合作。So first of all,
a very important matter in Australian politics, the resurgence of Pauline Hanson and One Nation. The Chinese community don't need to be told that when Pauline Hanson first arrived in the federal parliament, it was off the back of the most toxic race-based rhetoric aimed at our Chinese community. And she hasn't changed. 20 years ago she said, we're being swamped by Asians. Last year when she was re-elected to the Australian Parliament, she talked about Asian ghettos in the suburbs of Sydney and Melbourne. She talked about communities being swamped by Asians in suburbs like Hurstville. Chris Minns continued. We have this great Australian Chinese community centred in Sydney. I mean, what's happened this week with the Liberal Party in an unprecedented development in Australian politics, reaching a formal alliance with One Nation in Western Australia to swap preferences. This is a threat to the large and successful Australian Chinese community in our largest city, Sydney. But we have 500,000 Australian Chinese here in New South Wales, a community that is hard-working, successful, law-abiding. We cannot allow a situation where one of the major parties in Australian politics seeks to legitimise Pauline Hanson's racist attacks on the Chinese community. We in the Labor Party, state and federal, are united on this. We will never do business with One Nation. We rule it out. At the forthcoming federal election, at the next New South Wales state election, the Labor Party will never enter into preference arrangements with Pauline Hanson and One Nation. And I'm most concerned that hot on the heels of the West Australian alliance between the Liberal Party and One Nation, the New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian has refused, as recently as yesterday, to rule out the same arrangement here in New South Wales. We asked her in question time yesterday, will you join the Labor Party and say that the Liberals will never enter into a preference deal with One Nation? She avoided answering the question. She wouldn't and couldn't rule it out. This is a distressing development for our successful, harmonious, multicultural community in Australia's largest city. So today, with my senior colleague from the Federal Parliament, former Deputy Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, we're here to tell the community that the Labor Party, as a matter of principle, will never do business with Pauline Hanson, never exchange preferences, and will speak out each and every day against racial sentiment in Australian politics. We're the most harmonious, successful, multicultural society anywhere on earth. And the Labor Party will defend that. There's one principle we'll fight for in politics. It's to defend the successful, multicultural Australian society that we've all built together. I'll hand over to Anthony to make some remarks on behalf of the Federal Labor team.
The success that we have here in great cities like Sydney, which rely upon our multiculturalism, which rely upon the harmony that's here in the community. People who've come from China and all over the world to make Australia their home have enriched the rest of us because the strength of Australia is our multiculturalism. But in addition to that as a reason why we should not be entertaining deals with One Nation is the national economic interest. Because of our location in the world, next to what will be very soon the world's largest economy, that economy being in the People's Republic of China. when Pauline Hanson was in power, we saw those relations and the perception of Australia as a welcoming country, as a country where tourists or residents could receive the sort of welcome that characterises the Australian people, undermined, and that perception being very damaging.
Future economic prosperity is tied with doing business with China. And let me tell you, this great Australian Chinese community, 500,000 strong here in New South Wales, is the bridge between our two great nations. It's the best thing we have going for us.
As the local member for Burwood and Ashfield, is my support for the Chinese Australian community. I will fight every single day for your rights within the New South Wales Parliament. I will fight for diversity. I will fight for equality. I will fight for a fair go for each and every one of you.
I'm the member for Canterbury and I'm also the Shadow Minister for Multiculturalism. And we will do everything, we will stand next to you, and as our leaders have said, we say no to racism. Thank you.
I represent the electorate of Cogra, which includes the suburb of Hurstville. One of the first things that Pauline Hanson said when she was re-elected to the Commonwealth Parliament was that Hurstville had become a ghetto because of Asian immigration into that suburb. And the truth is, nothing could be further from the truth. Crime rates are at their lowest that they've ever been. The educational results of schools in the Hurstville area are the highest in Sydney. It's prosperous, it's harmonious. It is a suburb that is working. I think it's the envy of Australia, and I think it really is the test case for successful immigration policy around the world.
Over here, please. Matthew.